Are you sure?
No. Slowly and surely getting there.
Yeah.
No. Slowly and surely getting there.
What's up, everyone? Really happy to have you guys back. I know we took a week off last week just to kind of let everyone settle in, either start or hopefully get pretty far along through their midterms this semester. I hope everyone had a good week. The weather's starting to turn, so I hope that's kind of like lightening everyone's mood. Definitely did a lot for me because obviously it's super nice when you can just go out and take a nice walk. We have a really fun meeting, hopefully pretty relaxed. I don't know how long it's going to be. But this meeting, we're actually introducing our main event for this semester, which is NYUVC. It's a venture case competition, and we try to run it every year. Last year it got cut because of COVID, but we're super excited to have it back, and really excited just to tell you about it and see if how interested people are for this. We'll probably just give it a minute, let some people kind of roll into stream. But yeah, so I hope everyone's having a great start to their week. Taco, how was your day? What'd you do so far?
Is this my great stream debut? The stream manager?
Taco's on stream, everyone. At least his voice is.
Let's go. What's up, guys? Pretty good. Failed an exam. You know how it is.
For which class?
Corporate finance.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good thing you don't want to go into finance.
Yeah. Although, listen, if anyone has a job that they just want to throw out, I might not be able to do free cash flows well, but I can make the Excel look pretty. I can't even do that really.
Yeah, well, I mean, if anyone has a job that is not anywhere related to finance, Taco's your guy.
Yeah, anything. I'm talking about anything. Maybe not everything, but most things. I'll be there for. Does anyone have any
Taco, you're getting condolences in the chat. I think they all relate. Penny said you're the GOAT.
Hey, thanks guys. I don't think my professor thinks that. This is also the first time I showed up for a class.
That'll do it.
Anybody got any song requests for a hot sec before we get started? And then I'll let Joe take the floor.
Last second song request, anyone? Oh man.
I'm not playing Bobby Shmurda again. Alex, it's not a...
Alex wants to see you.
I don't have the hair ready. Accordion. Whoa, Sebastian. He's coming in with some hard ones. Wanted some Bobby Shmurda last time too. Alright, I'll prep that one, but Joe,
Chat's
sounds
fuck
ready.
up. Oh man.
Accordion.
Alright, we're starting to get some more people, so we'll probably start up pretty soon. Just random question, because I was thinking about it. My midterm schedule is so weird. Are you guys almost finished? Did you guys start midterms, still starting really? Are you guys midway through, or are you guys finished? Or finishing up?
I feel like most people are about to finish up.
I would agree, but I still have a couple left. I have more than I still have 2 or 3 left.
Yeah, I got 2 more left that I should probably start studying for, but it's a problem for tonight. Oh, Alex still has them too.
Ooh, okay. So we got some people are finished up at least.
Perfect.
That's
more time to focus on NYUVC.
Sebastian, Jesse. So we're still talking with Jesse, figuring it out. We will let you guys know if about the opportunity a little bit more once we iron out some of the details. But obviously Jesse's super cool guy, so we really do encourage you guys to apply once we get that out. All right, Taco, I think we're good to go, right?
Yeah, go for it, man.
All right, let's start it up. I'll share my screen to start it. All right, guys. So I'm super excited to announce, this is the official kickoff meeting for our NYUVC case competition. So that competition is going to happen pretty much in late April, but it's going to go from the 18th as the first round into the 24th as the second round. But now is the time where we're really starting it up. You guys can sign up. You guys can build teams, start looking at different startups, and I'm going to try to give you guys some helpful hints to kind of hit the ground running on this whole process. So first we can go through some weekly updates though. So Tile and then Fitbit have officially announced that they're going to collab. This is really interesting because they're using Bluetooth, and it's no additional cost on the new Fitbit watch. So we'll see if that is like a new thing that Tile's going to try to do a little bit more often, and see if they can embed some of their technology into existing devices while partnering with some of like the larger firms. Spark Capital severs ties with Dispo. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dispo. It was led by David Dobrik. Dispo is like a photo app that you guys can like create shared albums with all your friends. That was actually pretty highly valued, although there were a lot of allegations against David Dobrik, so he had to step down, and Spark Capital didn't want to get wrapped up in those allegations, so they decided that it was just best to sever ties with Dispo. And lastly, Zoom introduces SDK. This is a really good sign for Zoom. Usually by like crowdsourcing and allowing people to make edits or adaptations to your platform, it definitely makes it more flexible, and it's really enticing for a lot of like larger firms and a lot more specialized firms to kind of use the platform and adapt it to their own needs. Some other really big news that just came out like really recently is WeWork announced that they are planning to go public via SPAC. So that's like kind of big news. We've heard WeWork kind of on the decline lately, especially over the last couple of years. They're trying to get a $9 billion valuation. So we'll see where that like valuation really settles over the long run. But that was what they initially want. And currently they ended 2020 with the occupancy rate of about like 47%, which I don't really even need to say is not like super good. What do you guys think about WeWork? Are we high on WeWork right now, or do you guys think that this is a bad idea and they were so mismanaged that they're not going to be able to hit their valuation goal? If you want to just drop it in chat. Because I'm honestly interested, like, especially with COVID, we've seen that we don't have to have offices. We don't need to be in offices. Do you think that's going to help WeWork, or do you think it's just like that company is so damaged as a reputation that they're not going to really be able to thrive for a little bit? Sebastian doesn't like the timing. Sebastian, do you think they should wait until after COVID and try to get that and try to like bring people back into the office afterwards? Gurong doesn't think WeWork will work. Yeah, I'm also skeptical. Okay, so we'll probably keep an eye on that. They're going to be announcing a lot. I think the interesting thing is that they're doing it through SPAC. I mean, for such a large company, they have the name that they could have gone IPO, but they're deciding to do it in kind of this new fashion that we've seen to be like super popular lately. So we'll see how that kind of factors into their success. I have another one that I kind of want you guys to touch on, just like hear your thoughts. Discord is looking for a buyer, and they're trying to sell for about $10 billion. For those that don't know, Discord is a communication platform that's really popular among the gaming community, and they're looking for a buyer, and the initial word is that Microsoft is is a potential buyer and that is really interested. So do you guys like this plan? Do you think Discord should have continued, or do you think that it's probably smart to sell it off to like Microsoft, a bigger firm that can kind of make it more adaptable? Yeah, Sebastian, yeah, definitely not just gaming. I think a lot of people have seen the value in it. Um, I think that honestly it's one of my favorites just because I think it's super simple and it's kind of like Slack like. You have different workspaces. It's really easy to like sign up and get involved, and it's really like frictionless. So I enjoy it. I think that Microsoft is a great buyer for them. They are trying to like kind of integrate different platforms into their ecosystem, and I think that's kind of like a natural landing spot. But I think we're good for news. Good job, guys. So we can kind of go towards like the real focus of this meeting, which is going to be NYUVC. So NYUVC is your chance to kind of like build your team and pitch a real deliverable of a startup to eBoard and eventually, hopefully, real venture capitalists. So we're going to bring in 3 judges that are actual VC partners, and they're going to help us pick out which startup and which team ultimately wins the prize at the end. The first steps is obviously picking a startup. Then you're going to build and present the startup on the first round, which would be April 18th. The industries that we're focusing on are EdTech, NFTs, and wellness. So you can choose either a software company, you can choose like anything that's tech, or you can choose like a CPG if you want to go into wellness. The options are kind of open. The only restrictions we have is it has to be a seed or Series A startup that has less than $20 million in funding. So now that we kind of talked about that, does anybody have, I'll go back here. Does anybody have any questions? Really what the whole goal of this is, you're emulating like you're pretty much a startup, and you're trying to pitch to a VC that your startup is ready for venture capital backing. So you really have to pick a startup that you're passionate about, that you really want to see succeed, and really sell it as this is a great investment, not only like a cool company. We actually do have a video for you guys to kind of pump you guys up. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we will show you that video. All right, guys. So hopefully that got you pumped for it. I know that always gets me pumped when I see it. Taco, I just want to say shout out Taco and shout out Alex, our amazing marketing team. They are like wild. And I hope that got you guys excited. This is going to be a super fun event. I competed in it a couple years ago. So now that you guys are a little bit familiar with like what the event is itself, I just kind of want to go over some easy ways to start and kind of give you some hints to kind of help you guys get through this process. So I'm going to share my screen again. All right, awesome. So first thing that's really important is going to be sourcing a startup. So I'm going to kind of flip tabs here. Sourcing a startup is super important because that's kind of where you're going to get all of your inspiration. Really, we want you guys to like your startup. We want you guys to really be passionate for it and fight for it. And that's usually the teams that do the best. Alex, the teams are going to be of 3 and 4. And if you don't have a team, don't worry about it. You guys can always sign up. We'll help you build teams. We want as many people to get involved as possible. So feel free to either have 1, 2, however many people you guys have, we'll help you guys finish it off and build a strong team around you. So just to kind of go through some of the different ways you guys can find a startup, the 3 main ways that we see is company aggregators, news sources, and early stage like VCs that are really in that space. So first we can look at like Crunchbase. Crunchbase is super strong because you guys can go to the search function and you guys can really look up different industries very easily. And then also on the side, you guys can use different filters to kind of really refine it and find a startup that fits within like what you're looking for. So I would definitely recommend, looking on this, playing around with this. Even if you find something from a different place, I would go on Crunchbase and really like search up what this startup's about. Crunchbase has a lot of information. Maybe not all of it's like perfect, so I wouldn't like go with the revenue estimates and stuff, but the funding's usually like spot on. It can give you like a really kind of like really good overview of the company in general and their leadership. So I would suggest no matter what, you guys should have Crunchbase kind of a part of what you're doing when you're sourcing a startup, because it gives you a real nice view of like what the startup's really about, what the news is around the startup. So I would definitely consider using Crunchbase. PitchBook does a really similar thing. And I believe you guys all have access to it through like the business library. So I would play around with these two these two sites to really kind of refine which ones that you guys want to choose. If you're also just looking to find startups and just see, you guys can always go to TechCrunch. TechCrunch has a lot of articles. They post about like almost all like big fundings. And they have generally just like really good, like really strong tech section where you guys can like read about what's going on. So you guys, all you have to do is hit the startups tab, and then it'll bring you that. And then if you guys want, you guys can search for a specific industry, or if you already have a company, you guys can search about news and like kind of hear the team talk and hear a little bit about like the news around them, the buzz around them. So that's like the news, and that's also this, like another piece of news that you guys can take from is Strictly VC. Strictly VC is a newsletter that you can sign up for. It gives you top news, gives you a bunch of good stuff. But the section that if you're really looking to find a startup for this would probably be smaller fundings. Those are usually seed, Series A. Those will help you find a couple different startups, but they might not be in the exact space. So that's kind of just like it's a little bit less of a direct way to find a startup within these 3 verticals. Another really good way is to go on to VCs and to look at their portfolio. This is Anderson Horowitz, A16Z, like it's kind of their nickname. They they have a really easy site, which it's actually separated into seed. And then you guys can kind of just scroll through these. Usually, if they're already backed by like one of these really large firms or really successful firms, they're almost always like a pretty good startup. Obviously, kind of there's levels to it, but this is a really good place to kind of like figure out, what's popular in this space, what is like an exciting new opportunity, new startup. Anderson Horowitz is definitely not the only one. You can also look at like Excel or Google Ventures. They also do a lot of seed investing, so I would look into that. Does anyone have any questions on what the like sourcing a startup would look like? Now, can we pick international startups? That's a great question. Yeah, we'll open it up internationally. It would be better if you guys could probably choose something from the U.S., but if you guys see a company that you're really excited about, that's really what we want to see. So feel free to choose something that's not in the U.S. if it's something that you think fits perfectly. You think it's something that has a lot of potential, especially like global potential. And I believe the attendance link is in the description. We can also drop it in chat for you. So is there any other questions, Gurung? That's a great question about international startups. Is there any other question about what you guys can pick, or maybe some ways that you guys should go about picking? Okay. Well, if not, we can just keep moving. The next thing that I want to help you guys kind of just like consider before you guys get started is building the deck itself. So in my opinion, there's like really two ways that you have to like think about building your deck. And the two main things you have to consider are going to be design and the content. So first we can go on design. It's really important to have like a nice, clean, simple deck. Obviously VCs are super busy. It's kind of like college essay in a way, where they are looking at it pretty quickly. They're not like going to spend a ton of time. They're not going to try to like find like minute details. They're going to be mostly looking through it pretty quickly, at least in like the first rounds and like early on in the process. So you want to make it so easy that they can just look at a slide or look at a particular piece of information and immediately understand what you're trying to convey. So make it as skimmable as possible. Avoid like really large chunks of text, because that kind of like makes it harder to read. And try to make sure that there's a lot of graphs involved, because graphs are a great way to visualize data, and then it comes easier as opposed to like having to read this long description that pretty much conveys the same message. If you guys need extra help on that, we have an amazing design lesson led by Alex, and he kind of breaks down a lot of like the more granular approaches to design. But I really think that design is like, we obviously as a club value design, so that is a really important part of building the deck. The second part is content, which, while I say design is super important, content is really like the driver of what makes a good deck. So you don't want to just have like a bunch of bland like summary statements. Really, the goal of it is going to be focusing on like concrete reasons or really like solid pieces of evidence that can show that this company has a competitive advantage and will like succeed in whatever market it's in. So if you focus, so like one way to do it is focus on the value props. So like, what is this company doing? Like, how is it bringing value to the users? What other stakeholders are getting values from it? I would really focus on like this is basically like the differentiator. What makes it different? Why is this not being done by other startups or by other mature companies? Second, as I touched on, is competitive advantage. Competitive advantage is super important because you want to know why you think that especially in the more competitive markets, like the three that we're working in with, they're all super competitive, and you have to figure out how this company is going to position itself in the market to gain market share and hopefully be super profitable. And the last one is address glaring questions. So this one is like kind of very important to me personally because I think that there's a lot of reasons why companies aren't able to raise funds or they're not able to raise as much as they'd like is because they don't clearly communicate how they address some of the like major issues that are happening. So like immediately some things that you can think about are like Airbnb and Uber, like how comfortable are people interacting with strangers or letting strangers in their house or getting in someone's car. Those are glaring questions. So they actually require information given to the VCs and like a clear strategy on how the company plans on mitigating those. And I have an example deck real quick to show you guys, just kind of like so you understand some of the design principles as well as some of the content that goes into some of the like a startup deck. Real quick, I'll just check chat, make sure. Alex, is anyone trying to source an edtech startup? Yeah, that's great. So you guys can pick an industry. If you guys are signing up as an individual and you guys like want to tell us your preference, you can. If you guys all have different ones, we can help you guys kind of pick some of the stronger options. So here's an example deck. This one's Savioke. It's a company that's based on robotics. You can see here that they went with a black and white theme. Honestly, that's like really a super hard thing to do because color is usually a great way to emphasize things, but it is an interesting way to kind of change things up. So they start out with an overview slide. They use icons. Everything is center aligned and really neat. Everything's the same amount of lines. You can really tell that this is like a slide that you can look at. You can read the three main headings. Those are the first thing that draw attention. And it's very easy to kind of get the main purpose of this slide. And you guys can really it has numbers that help immediately kind of put facts into your head and kind of understand the situation that they're in. Timeline slides are really important because they kind of show traction. They show how a company has progressed, how long it's taken for them to receive funding, or what the different prominent events are in the history of this company. And market is a great place to throw in a graph, especially a bar graph like this. You really want to show the data and show the trends that are happening. That's really a great way to build excitement for your startup. So I highly suggest that. And if you look at just kind of design wise, he didn't when Michael was making this deck, he didn't just paste in a graph that he found on a website. To make it cohesive, he remade his graph and within the color scheme that he was running, and that just makes this whole thing a lot cleaner, and it kind of builds it together as a very professional, very aesthetically pleasing deck. Also, having headers like this really helps. That helps skimmability a lot because they know that they can look at, the different, they know that steady growth is going to have CAGR in it. They know that this is a fragmented industry and they have two main reasons why. And then if they really are interested in a particular reason, they can read more about it and kind of understand why that is. This one had 2 market overviews. I suggest that if you're in kind of a very complicated market, I would say, because or even young, and you're like trying to project different trends or different market drivers. I think that's a really strong way to use your slides to communicate why you think like a company is going to succeed. Because if you believe a lot in that market, you can really like hit that home and say they're early movers in this market. The market is set to like explode, so they're really well positioned. Explaining a product is like very key, especially when it comes to like a little bit more technical products. So when it's like a CPG or consumer packaged good startup, a lot of those will be fairly straightforward. You can explain maybe some of the reasons why it works or some of the reasons why it's better, but especially when you're talking about like software, you're talking about SaaS companies, that's really when you want to explain like how the product works and like what are the full features that you're offering. Again, you could see a lot more like headings. Business model is super important too. I mean, all of this stuff that he includes is like basically what you need to include. He did a great job of like having the necessities, but not like providing too much like superfluous information. Just stuff that like is like fun facts he didn't include, but things that are like really important to like the core of the business. He made sure to have like one or even two slides to really make sure he's able to like communicate that. So, and also you could see like the theme of it is pretty consistent. So he had icons up above, he has icons here, a lot of lines to, break up information, a lot of headings. It's always like very, very clean. So this is kind of just like an example of like what a great deck would be. He remade his own graphs here, tables, I believe he made on his own, like just using lines. So this is kind of what we're looking for when it comes to design as well as content. You can tell that none of these slides have too many words that it's like kind of like overbearing on the screen. And also he's able to use white space really well. So like if you go back up to this one or even either one of these two, he doesn't spread it out so much that it's taking up all of the space. Or like even this text, it could have been bigger, but he wanted to make sure that it wasn't too big because that just makes it harder to read, less skimmable. So that's really not what you're going for. So white space is fine. Like it's definitely something that maybe feels awkward at first, but in general, it helps kind of make it look a lot cleaner. And then here is some exit opportunities. Some risks. I think risks are like, it's a really good slide to have, and I highly suggest it because that is where you're able to talk about maybe some of like the glaring questions that there are about your company. So you can say, yeah, I know that, trust amongst users is an issue, or I know that there's a privacy concern when you're putting in, financial data into like a fintech startup. Those are all like really valid things, and you have to explain what your company's strategy is to make the users and like all the other stakeholders comfortable, because investors know that unless those barriers are overcome, that like it's going to have a really long lasting negative impact on this company. A little conclusion slide or investment thesis really is good. It really like ties the entire pitch together. That's where you can highlight some of the largest takeaways. So this one really, they mention the market, which makes sense. They had 2 slides on it. That was clearly a focus of this pitch. They talk about the trends in acquisitions, and they say that in this particular industry, acquisition is a very viable option. But this one particularly said that it's too early to invest. So this was a whole pitch that was just talking about this company, and while it thinks that it's a strong company overall, the timing isn't great for it right now. Hopefully, you guys should all be choosing companies that you do believe are ready for investment right now. And instead of too early, you would say, why is this timing the correct timing? So why do you think they shouldn't wait? Why do you think that they didn't need it earlier? You really should be hitting on like, this is perfect timing for this company because they're right on that curve to like explode. So going back to the deck, I just want to check chat. Is there anything that you guys have about building a deck for this competition that you guys wanted me to address? I'll take a break. All right, so I think we're good on the deck. All right, solid. Okay, so we can go to pitching to a VC. So whether we are, as eBoard, are going to be judging the first rounds, or we're going to be acting like VCs, or if you actually get the opportunity to pitch in front of the real VCs, here are some things that like they want you to talk about. So whether it should be on the slides, but if it's not, they want you guys to elaborate more. You shouldn't be reading off the slides purely. You should have like different insights that you're adding as you're speaking. But what VCs are looking for you to add are conversations about scalability, the different potential that the company has, or future options. And they just want insights. So scalability, that's really where you can talk about, I think this would do great in this other market, or they were able to test it in, LA and it did great. So now they're ready to go into New York and they need a capital infusion to get their expansion plans really off to a good start. Stuff like that is definitely promising for VCs because they are able to see how they're going to get their return back in the future. So scalability is important. Potential also kind of ties into scalability because potential could be how they're going to differentiate themselves, how they're going to gain a competitive advantage. And part of that could be in product. So product, they can expand into different product offerings, maybe something that is complementary to their core business. All of these things are really helpful to help VCs think about why is this company not just like a short run plan, and as opposed to why do you think this can last over the next 5 to 10 years, which is typically how long VCs have to wait before kind of collecting on their investments. And the last one's insights. So insights kind of encompasses both of them. Insights is really just anything that's not a summary of the company. So they don't want to see that you guys just copy and pasted everything from Crunchbase. They can pretty much do that themselves. They don't really need anybody to help them with that. They want to see and hear why you think this company's good. Why is this company, in your opinion, ready for investment? So those are going to be analysis based. They're going to be based off of, different financials if you can find them. They're going to be based off of the market analysis. This is really like your chance to pitch it to them, and this is really where that comes in, is you're trying to persuade them why your company is ready, why your company is the best. So don't take that for granted that they don't want to hear what the description of the company is and exactly what the market looks like. They want to hear what you think it's going to look like in the future. So just keep that in mind, and that's where you guys can really stand out as a team, and that's really where the best teams have shown to win over the judges. So do we have any kind of questions on when it comes to pitching to VCs? I don't see anything in chat. How we feel, do you guys think that this is going to be something that you guys can do, find a team, build out this deck, or do you think that it's going to be something that is going to be a longer term thing that you guys are going to need help on. I just wanted to like kind of clear that up a little bit, because we're actually going to like, the reason why we're starting this competition so early is we want to kind of help you guys walk through this process. It's not like, I know that it's like a busy time of year. Obviously, it's going to be pretty much right after midterms and kind of tucked in between midterms and finals. But we think that this is like a really important thing to do. Competing in these different like case competitions helps give you guys experience, helps give you guys kind of confidence when it comes to like getting in a room with different professionals. And it also gives you guys a legitimate deliverable that you guys can show as your proof of work. So like I have before, when it comes to interviews, I have shown like different pitches that I've made and been like, yeah, here's, kind of my work. Here's like a testament to my work. This is my design capabilities. This is how I analyze information and summarize it in a pitch. I think that skill is super important, and I know in the tech space, often that's like higher valued than sometimes even like GPA is, because they want to see that once you get in there, you can kind of hit the ground running. You have all the skills that you need, and then as soon as you walk through the doors, you're able to like make that difference. So I highly suggest like getting involved, because this is something that will help you, not just like, for the prize, which is pretty cool that like you guys have a chance of winning a prize, but really just like it's valuable experience that you're definitely going to have to use moving forward. Trisha, will you guys be doing workshops or more technical stuff like valuation? So for the teams that get involved and the teams that sign up, we're actually going to host office hours where you'll have some time to like break out and talk with different e-board members and kind of like run through what you guys have been doing, maybe where like you guys are getting caught up, and we'll be able to like talk you through it, go over what we would do in that scenario, how we would kind of address some of these issues. So it's going to be hands-on. Like if you guys want to just kind of go and try your best and crank it out, that's like awesome. And definitely you'll get a lot of valuable experience. But I also think there's a ton of value in talking to some people that have been through this and like kind of understand how to build out a deck like this. And we'll be able to talk with you. You guys can like kind of see how that whole process works. But that's a great question, Trisha. And Sebastian, you said workshops will be helpful. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely open to the idea of like workshops, office hours, stuff like that. If there's a skill that you guys need, and you guys can always reach out and like say, hey, we're stuck on, this design principle, or we're stuck on how to make this look less congested. So like if you guys need anything like that, you guys can either, of course, watch the video that Alex did, which is amazing, and he kind of breaks down a lot of that. Or you guys can reach out to eBoard directly, and we'll, hop on a call and we can, talk through some things. But we want this to be like, this isn't like a competition in which it's super cutthroat. We're going to be helping you guys through it. We're going to be walking you guys like through this process, because we want to see you guys get stuff out of it, even if it's not like directly in terms of like winning the competition. Just like every team that joins will at least go out of it with a deliverable that they are proud of and that they can like assign their name to. Yep, of course, Trisha. Are there any other questions on like kind of what this whole process looks like? Because I know I threw a good amount of information at you, and then even for the sophomores, they never got to see this run. But, I mean, we're super excited for it. We have some VCs lined up, which we are finalizing right now, and we'll probably have an update, hopefully by next meeting, when it comes to exactly which firms we're bringing in. But we're going to bring in some large firms. Firms in the past have been like 0.72. we've brought in, I believe, Laconia, and I want to say Excel, but I'm not sure about that one. But we get in real NY venture capitalists that are very familiar with this whole process. And I'll go back to the flyer just so everyone can look at this, and then if they do, have any questions, they can bring them up. Kenny, yeah, how long should the pitch decks be? For about 15 minutes. So if you guys include all of the topics that we have in our description, which is also in this YouTube, it's under flyer. If you guys look at that, that'll have like a pretty good amount of slides that you guys can do. If you guys pretty much do that, maybe like add 1 or 2 extra, you still should be able to hit that 15 minutes pretty perfectly. It's also going to be about like how you guys pitch it, so that you would have to like practice, figure out really what needs to be said, what doesn't. So for me, I don't really like, especially when it comes to smaller startups, I don't really like dive deep into financials, just because financials are something that if you hand them the pitch deck afterwards, they will be able to kind of skim through, read the financials as they choose. And that's kind of like a little bit more evident, as opposed to like some of the other things like market, you should probably like actually discuss and figure out kind of the timing for each of them. But that's a great question, Kenny. For the judging, will you guys put more weight on the quality of the presentation or the quality of the pitch? I would say that it's ultimately going to come down like to the way you guys like present it, but we do put a lot of stock in like the actual deck itself. So we want to see you guys also almost like salesmen for this startup, because we want to see energy, we want to see excitement, because that's just kind of more realistic to what it would be like going through this process. So we want you guys to have the confidence in your company that you guys can stand up in front of like either venture capitalists or real venture capitalists and kind of like fight for your startup. But that's a great question. And then I'd say if you break it down even a little bit further, when it comes to like the deck, there will always be more weight on content, just because that is like the most important. But we do like consider design, because that is a large part of it when it comes to how well it's like how well it's perceived, and it shows a lot about how you're able to like interpret that data. So like graphs and stuff are really helpful and like very persuasive if you're able to like visualize some of the trends, as opposed to just like reading like facts off of the slides. So design does factor in, but I would say pitch and then content are like the two things that are most important. The quality of the startup versus the quality of the pitch. Yeah, so in the end of the day, it is an actual, like we are judging whether or not we would invest in the company. So the startup does matter. So we will be putting like a good amount of weight onto how well did they do when they actually picked this startup. Because, I mean, if you don't like actually think the startup's going to succeed, then it's more of just like a book report for a book you don't like. If you do believe in the startup and you say like this is 100% like a viable business and this is going to grow, that's what us on eBoard are looking for. That's what real venture capitalists are looking for. They want to see like company, like you want to be able to pitch this company, and then over the next 3 years watch them get funding, watch them get like bought out and like exit. Like these are companies that you're going to be following, and hopefully you'll see them succeed, and you will be able to like look back on this and be proud of yourselves for finding that like kind of diamond in the rough. But that's a great question. Startup, we are evaluating your effectiveness at picking the startup. And that's why we really want to focus on like different ways to find startups, because they're not always going to be like readily available, and sometimes you have to be like a little bit clever with how you find them. And we're happy to help even on that part. Like if you guys have a company, you guys can bring it to us and just say like, hey, what do you think of this company like at first glance? And we'll like kind of give you a thumbs up, or we'll say, you know what, I'm not too sure about this. There's like a lot of issues with their business model, or there's a lot of issues with the market. So we're happy to help you guys pick a startup, because that's a super important part to like getting the whole ball rolling. Yep, of course. Does anyone have anything else they're considering? If you guys do have any other questions, you guys can always, or if, you guys forget something, you guys can always watch this back. We do have a flyer that has almost all the information I discussed, maybe even a little bit more, on in this video's description. So that'll help you guys kind of navigate, as well as the sign-up sheet is on that flyer. So from that flyer, you guys can directly click a link, and it'll bring you to a Google form, and there you just fill out like, mostly it's just team information when it comes to like different teammates. But again, you can always hit the first option that you guys want to participate, but you don't have a team, and we will do that on a rolling basis, and we'll build teams. That way, just because we want people to start as early as they can. And as this says, the startup deadline, like the sign up deadline, will be the 7th. That's just to give you guys enough time to like really go through this process like without being rushed, with getting input from us if you guys need it. We want to like help you guys. We want this to be something that you guys not only have fun with, but like also like get value from. Do we need to decide on a startup if we don't have a team yet? You guys can always put like, if you know a startup that you like and you don't have a team, you can put it in. But if we're going to be matching you guys up with someone else, you don't need to, because obviously you guys haven't even been able to like discuss it yet. So for those questions like team name, team startup, you guys can just write like NA or don't have it yet or none, and that's perfectly fine. And we'll know to match you guys up. And also, I don't know if I announced the prize exactly, but the prize is going to be $50 gift cards to each of the winners. It's $50 Amazon gift cards to all members of the winning team. All right. I'm going to hang out, and then we're going to play a little bit of music. I'll probably hang out for like a couple minutes. So if you guys have any other questions, you guys drop them in the chat. I'll be reading chat and answering them. But if you guys don't, feel free to enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. And thanks for coming and joining, guys. Rohill, if we don't have a team for the industry, we would put just our top choice there. Yeah, Rohill, so we can always work that out with you guys, like with you individually. If you really like set on a specific industry, we'll try our best to kind of like fit you guys in, if we have that option. Other than that, we can kind of just help you guys kind of like figure out what is easiest for the team, what is like with the industry you guys want to focus in. That's a good question. A mixture between both with a twist of liquor, chasing with more beer, tasting like truth for dear. When he at the mic, it's like the place get like, oh yeah, it's like they know what's about to happen. Just keep your eye out like I capping. Is he still a fly guy clapping if nobody ain't hear it? And can they testify from in the spirit? Yep, of course, Rojo. And thank you guys. Thanks, Kenny. Thanks, Trisha. Thank you, Sebastian. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thanks, Spence. And then also, for those here, we have a startup recruiting session next week. And then a tech alumni panel also next week. So definitely tune into those. Both of those are like kind of recruiting events. So if you are like still looking, hopefully those will help you guys out. All right, guys, I'm signing out. All right, have a good one.